Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of February 3rd through the 9th of 2025. Alright, so this week we are coming off of a new moon from last week, so we are going to be in the first quarter moon of the lunar cycle, which is usually the time where we do come to our first challenges of the lunar month, but really good to challenge ourselves and really implement whatever new beginnings have surfaced since last week. So that first quarter will be midweek here around Wednesday. As we do approach that, we do have, first of all, Mercury trining up to Jupiter, and Jupiter going direct. So we do have some forward movement here with the more possibilities, potentials, anything that's been on the back burner about these past 4-5 months regarding things that maybe are possibilities, maybe things we've been open-minded about, do start to move forward, and we do have Mercury in a good support with that, which can give us a good open mind and maybe some supportive things with communications as well. This week we do have Mars squaring up to Chiron. That's going to go exact here around the Monday, Tuesday time. This is really in the context of what's been going on since around October. So since mid-October, October 13th, we've had the planet Mars of assertiveness squaring up to Chiron, the healer comet here. So there can be some healing energy and some healing maybe in particular to that assertive nature, to how we express ourselves and move things forward, which again are all in reflection right now with Mars retrograde. And then the weekends here with Mercury over the Sun, we could get some perhaps new perspectives on life in general, the things that we've been doing on a more day-to-day level, maybe some buzzing of the mind or some things that can be a little difficult to concentrate on, but if we can channel that, that can be great. And Mars will be trining Saturn as well, so towards the weekend we do get a little bit more of that support with Mars in the sense of maybe some patience, discipline, and that long-term view that Saturn can give us. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, February 3rd. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. You won't see this in mainstream because they aren't using the visible sky, unfortunately, and so the signs are different, especially with the placements. For example, you might be thinking that the sun is in Aquarius right now, based on mainstream astrology, but if you do look up at the visible sky, you will see it just like this with the sun right in the middle of Capricorn, not Aquarius. So if you are new to this channel, definitely check out that link down below for more information. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do a little bit of a recap. We don't have any sign changes with the fast movers this week, but it's good to get a little bit of a confirmation on what we've got going on. Again, we are in the early phase of the lunar cycle still coming into this week. It's a new moon that happened in Capricorn, and so we're just slowly building some momentum here in the lunar month. As we do get to Wednesday, however, things will definitely start to materialize. We can start to notice more things manifesting, and again, things that are good to challenge ourselves with. But the context is certainly around Capricorn, where the Sun and Mercury are at the moment. So our view of life this time of the year is on responsibility, the long-term view, things we want to achieve and accomplish. And so there's certainly that grounding energy available. So anything that's about healthfully cultivating this more mountaintop, climbing the mountain, one step at a time kind of energy, I think is absolutely fantastic, both in terms of how we're viewing life and also how we're thinking about things with Mercury as well. Now, Venus is well set in Pisces, so as she continues her very long, what will be a very long transit here when she goes retrograde as well in Pisces, this is all about seeing the value of receptivity in life. By receptivity, I mean all the things that we can be a little bit more in flow with, a little bit more what you might say yin with, more receiving from life instead of taking from life. So Pisces is all about aligning to that flow of life and perhaps these more spiritual or soul-fulfilling values. So it's really good to see the value of this, to enjoy things that are more receptive, to enjoy things that maybe are a little more spiritual or a little bit more soul-connected, give us good mental health and spiritual health. Great way of connecting both to life in this way, but also in those one-on-one relationships, as Venus can signify as well. Mars is still retrograde in Gemini, so that reflection on our assertiveness is still in the mix, maybe particularly here involving communication, and also maybe some of that day-to-day stuff like correspondence, interacting with others and such. So good to be maybe a bit reflective on how we're communicating, how we're interacting with others, our peers, our neighbors, siblings, anyone of equal status, and seeing how we can still pursue our needs and express ourselves in that context, but with that sense of reflection, with that sense of learning, and again, just being a bit adaptive and flexible right now with all that fiery energy in that reverse motion. All right, so let's go ahead and start here with Monday. Again, coming into this, starting to probably get into the first quarter moon of starting to challenge ourselves this lunar month. Let's start with Mars squaring Chiron, since we just mentioned Mars. Mars, again, that assertive planet, has been squaring Chiron, the healer, since October 13th. And so this can mark a positive step in the right direction with this. If there is anything particularly in your life since about mid-October that you feel like has been healing, especially in the context of self-assertion, especially in the context of pursuing what you want, or your identity, who you are, what you want. These kinds of things that are in reflection with Mars retrograde are now at the halfway point with the Chiron square, which can mean healing in this department. So anything that does feel like maybe moving through some wounds, moving through some inhibitions, asserting ourselves in the face of those wounds and doing it anyways in a healthy and conscious way, this could all be very healing and very rejuvenating. And as I always say with Chiron, it can be mental, spiritual, emotional, or physical healing. And so if you can think back to mid-October, I think there can be some positive steps in that context this week. But really, this early part of the week is just good for that. Good for healing of all kinds, especially if it deals with moving through any wounds in the context of assertion or who we are and what we want. The last contact with this will be March 26th, to give you an idea. And if you want to set any intentions for what is the next couple months, basically, to wrap that up at that time, that can also be a really good way of working with this. We've got Mercury trining up to Jupiter, and Jupiter starting to go direct. So a bit of a station, a bit of a pause here with Jupiter. Jupiter's still a bit of a distant planet, so we don't really feel the direct motions as strongly as fast movers like Mercury, for example. But Jupiter's still the fastest of the slower movers, so we can certainly feel this week maybe things starting to move forward in the area of hopefulness, in the area of opportunities, in the area of adventure. Basically, Jupiter's about expanding our mental and literal horizons. And so anything that's been on the back burner there for about the past 4 months, 5 months, around there, these things can start to move forward. So that's been the Jupiter retrograde, more reflection, more internalize, a bit of a pause with some of these things now starting to shift forward. And there can certainly be some opportunities maybe around this Monday, Tuesday time of things moving forward in that context. So Mercury supporting this, helping us see it. Mercury, the planet of our minds, how we think about things, and those communications can be supportive in this process as well. So that's this early part of the week. We will have the moon in Pisces here on Monday, which is finishing up the moon in Pisces from the weekend. So Monday, maybe a little bit of that receptivity that we were talking about, being a little bit more yin about life can be good. As we do get into Tuesday, though, there's likely themes around assertion and that kind of Mars energy with the moon in Aries. So moon in Aries all day Tuesday and even the early part of Wednesday, themes around that assertion, things around pursuing things, being proactive with things in our life can be good to cultivate, and we'll probably notice some themes around that at that time of the week. So once we do get to Wednesday, again, that'll be the apex of the first quarter moon, first challenges of the lunar month. And again, good to challenge ourselves. It can be the most constructive time of the lunar month. And a lot of what we start to implement this middle part of the week will come to its harvest in about a week from now when we do come to the full moon around this time next week. All right, so that's going to be the integration, the action, the implementation, the manifestation of a lot of the monthly energies here around Wednesday. Now, as we get to the later part of Wednesday and All day Thursday and Friday, the moon will be in Taurus, and this is a great place to have the moon for the lunar month. And in this case, it's about taking things slowly and steadily, similar to that Capricorn energy. And in fact, this is where we start to notice a little bit more support between the sun and the moon and the trine. But here, two earth energies can really help us take things steadily. But with Taurus specifically, it's about stopping to smell the roses, as I say, enjoying the simple life, perhaps taking things in terms of cultivating those really inner and outer resources that Taurus helps us connect to. Our inner resources of things like steadiness, self-worth, self-value, but also externally things like the material life or the nature or the natural life. Things like this can be great. So that's this middle to later part of the week, all the way until we get to Saturday. Now on Friday, though, approaching that weekend, Venus will be sextiling Pluto. Nothing major here, but there is an opening likely here for some depth, some deeper connection to life and perhaps those relationships. It's not major with the sextile, but it's certainly available. So if there's anything you do want to do that maybe isn't in the context of self-empowerment here, or in the context of deep enjoyment or deep connection, we can certainly walk through that door, as a door will likely present itself to us at some point here around the Friday time period in that context. Okay, and then we do have some sextiles here between the Sun and Mercury, who are going to conjoin on Sunday with Chiron, sextile to Chiron. So nothing major here, but just supporting what we were talking about earlier about it being just a good week for healing of all kinds, if we do choose to do that. And the later part of the week, we might notice a little bit more easier, a little bit more supportive, especially coming off of that square with Mars from earlier in the week. All right, but once we do get to that Sunday time, this is where we have Mercury over the Sun, marking the halfway point of the very fast Sun and Mercury cycle, about every 4 months cyclically. And so there can be some insights, there can be shift of perspective on a lot of things. I think Sunday is a great time to allow a shift of perspective on life. But the sun, this is considered in many ways a combust energy, where Mercury isn't visible, and so can be symbolic for the mind not being as clear or as sharp, and maybe some things coming through a bit unconsciously here with the mind and the communications as well. So this can sometimes feel as a sense of maybe too much fire, too much passion, maybe buzzing, or sometimes an anxiety or something where there's a lot of that fire drowning out the mind and the communication. So it's all about channeling this constructively. And if there's any intentional ways of thinking and of communicating, such as journaling, such as writing things down, coming up with plans, expressing ourselves, communicating things, maybe getting a bit creative as well to let out some of that fiery energy. These are all really good ways to work with that combust Mercury. And so any intentions like that on Sunday can be great. But really, I would say it's a great time to listen, as this has been seen as Mercury going into the underworld, if you will, to get information from the gods to bring back to, either to other gods or the humans, and in this case for us, to get some insights. And so shift of perspective, perhaps some insights going into that unconscious world a little bit, and digging up or bringing up some of these new perspectives or ways of thinking about things. Okay, so that's going to be Sunday there. And along with this, we do have Mars trining Saturn. Again, we have a little more supportive energy coming off of that Mars square earlier in the week, and of course that first quarter moon, which is a square as well. And here maybe feeling a bit disciplined. So Mars, again, the assertive planet in good harmony with, in this case, Saturn, which is that long-term view, very similar to that Capricorn kind of energy we were talking about earlier. So good time for responsibilities, good time for patience, good time for seeing the bigger picture, and we can certainly be supported with this. Now, if you want to think back to September 30th, that was the last time where we had the first contact with this, since Mars is retrograde with this. Anything that has required patience, discipline, a long-term view, to have energy put into it since September 30th. This can be a nice step in the right direction with this. And April 4th will be the last contact with this, where things can again get wrapped up in this context. All right, everyone. So that's the week in a nutshell. Let's go ahead and distill this into a very simple, straightforward synopsis of the week. So first quarter moon is, I would say, the main theme. It's the time of the month to start to manifest and start to integrate the things that probably got planted around this time last week. We've got a great week for healing in general. Mars squaring up to Chiron can help us challenge ourselves to do that early in the week, especially in the context of assertion, our needs, who we are and what we want, doing things in the face of wounds, or just intentional healing in that way can be absolutely fantastic. This will likely start to ease up a little bit. We'll feel probably a little more rejuvenated, a little bit more healed as a result of that as we get to the later part of the week, and we can see that reflected in the sextiles to Chiron, the easier aspects to Chiron, along with that trine to Saturn, which can, really finish up the week with a little bit more responsibility and discipline for things in that bigger picture. Regarding that assertiveness as well. Jupiter's direct this week, early in the week. So again, things moving forward in terms of opportunities, potentials, things we could be open-minded about. And so this is a great week for moving that stuff forward as well. A little bit of support there with Mercury, the planet of our minds and communications, early in the week. All right, everyone. So that is the week in a nutshell. Hope this was helpful. Be sure to stay tuned for the live stream. We're going to go live here in just a few hours after this upload, where we get to do some community questions. I think I'm going to have a special guest on here this week. So if you haven't yet joined us, there's a link down below for that. If you have joined us before, I look forward to seeing you there again. It's on YouTube. It's also part of the MTZ newsletter if you're signed up for that from the website. But I hope to see you there for the YouTube live stream, and I hope you all have an excellent week, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.